What's up, bruh? Welcome back to a room of my own, my channel. Um, Thanks for all the support on the last video. Surprisingly, it did more. I mean, it did better than I thought it was gonna do. I don't have access to this channel unless I'm using my laptop. I deleted, not the YouTube app, but like I don't have access to this YouTube account on my phone. Like I'm not signed in, and I don't remember the password. So if I'm not on my laptop, I can't see what's going on this page, which is like the way I prefer because I try not to use my phone that much anyway. I keep looking over here because I am trying to cook up with this tea bag because I'm trying to drink less coffee, uh, or at least stick to 1 cup of coffee at night, or not at night, 1 cup of coffee in the morning and not drink one again in the day. Um, and it's been going. It's a process, so it's taking its time, but we're here. Anyway, um I wanted to make a video talking about the books that I have in my rotation right now and some of the books that I wanted to talk about, not wanting to talk about, but some of the books that I wanted to read or that I'm debating if I should start reading, and then the books that I'm currently reading right now. And then one book that I already have read and that I wanted to just quickly talk about. Maybe not quickly. I might talk about that here at the beginning of the video just so I can get it out of the way. Um, but before I do that, I also just wanted to again say thanks for the support on the last video. It blew up. I literally only sent that video to my older brother and 3 of my friends, and that was it. And I was like, if this video doesn't get any views, I really don't care. I'm really just making this shit so I can look back at it when I'm in grad school and be like, oh, these are the books that I was reading, or this is what my life was like when I was in grad school, or before grad school. Like that's pretty much all this channel's for. That's why I don't plan on like posting on it that much. This is my cat, by the way. Her name's Cersei. Uh, Enough yapping, enough intro bullshit. We're going to get into this video, the books that I'm reading. So, the first book that I read recently that I showed in the last video is Memoirs of a Beatnik by Diane DePrima. This book is so good. It's so good. Let me just start by saying, one, read the trigger warnings. Two, be prepared for some freaky behavior to take place if you go and read this book. This book is borderline. I don't want to say it's smut because that has a connotation to it, but well, hey, bro, listen, listen, listen. It is essentially like we just have to call a spade a spade. That's what it is. However, it's like not like that would be like calling a movie like Crash porn, right? Like, can you say that on YouTube? I hope you can. Well, I'm not monetized anyway, so it doesn't matter. But if you haven't seen David Cronenberg, I believe that's bro's name. David Cronenberg's Crash, this film right here. Follow me on Letterboxd, by the way. But that's like calling this movie porn. This movie is essentially just about a bunch of people who are having sex in like car crashes, and it's crazy. It's pretty wicked. But listen, that's a story for another time. Interesting movie, but that's what this book is similar to in my mind. It's very similar to that, and it's like it's pretty graphic in its depiction of sex, but I think it's important that like conversations about sex are talked about or like are had, because I think our society is like heavily sexualized, but nobody seems to really want to talk about sex at all. Like everyone gets real like, ooh, we can't really talk about that. And Diane DePrima is like, no, we're gonna talk about that. This is what I'm doing. This is how we're doing it. This is what's going on. There is a pretty wicked section towards the end of the book between her, Jack Kerouac, and Allen Ginsberg. That's like, I can't look at none of them like it's the same, bro. Let me just say. Anyway, I'm drinking honey vanilla chamomile tea, by the way. Gas. Anyway, yeah, this book, it also chronicles. Okay, so let me break it down. Memoirs of a Beatnik is the story of Diane DiPrima, who is a beatnik writer. If you don't know who the Beatniks were, they were a group of writers in New York in the late 50s, I want to say. Um, Around that time, late 50s, 60s type timing. I'm not a huge fan of the Beatniks. Some of the Beatniks are Allen Ginsberg, William S. Burroughs, Jack Kerouac, Diane DiPrima. I believe Charles Bukowski was loosely affiliated with them. I don't think he is a beatnik, but he did know and he wrote. He like sort of wrote. He was a lot older than them. Bukowski was really old when I say really old. He was only 40. He's not really old, but he was older when he sort of hit the public eye, like when he popped as a writer. So by the time Bukowski rose to prominence, it was during the time of Diane DiPrima and Allen Ginsberg and the rest of the beatniks. So in a way, he is a beatnik, but he sort of exists in this like middle space between the Lost Generation and the beatniks. If you don't know what the Lost Generation is, it's just the modernist writers essentially from like the 1920s to I believe the 40s. But Diane DiPrima was one of the few women to come out of this movement that were like given a spotlight. Like this was a very male centric, almost boys club sort of feeling to it. That's kind of why I don't really like the Beatniks. It feels very, I don't know, something about the Beatniks rubs me the wrong way. A lot of them were super problematic. William S. Burroughs killed his wife and then he beat the case. Like he killed his wife and then beat the case, which like nobody, like I won't want to say nobody talks about that because that's like a key part of his lore as a writer, but like bro just casually killed his wife, beat the case, and then wrote a bunch of books afterwards, and nobody said anything in the time that he was writing those books. Okay, Cersei, I'm trying to record a video, bro. But nobody said anything about that shit while it was happening, which is crazy. Like, we have to talk about that at some point. Now, everyone talks about it, but, like, bro casually just beat a case, a murder case, like, with nothing. And, apparently, I don't know how, truthful this is, but according to one of my friends who is a English grad student who knows more about literature and knowledge than in the knowledge of like this period in history than I do. Apparently, both William J. Burroughs and Jack Kerouac are connected in some sort of strange murder case. So this man might have been doing multiple crimes. We don't even know. But that's besides the point. I don't really like look, I need to sip this tea. Hold on. I don't really like the beatniks because they feel very, I don't want to say crass, but they are very crass, but I don't have a problem with crass language. I mean, I really like this book and it's very crass. I like Charles Bukowski, his language is very crass. I like Hemingway's language is quite crass. But I feel like the beatniks are very, they just, something about them feels performative to me. Like, it doesn't feel like they really, I guess, I don't know. I don't really know how to voice it. I haven't read many beatnik pieces of literature. Once I read more, I'll be able to form more of a, I guess, grounded take on them. I think a lot of my disdain for the beatniks is just comes from their fans and like the people that like the beatniks, right? Like you see a lot of people talk about On the Road by Jack Kerouac and it's like, all right, bro, whatever. That's like a staple performative male book, it feels like, and I can't. But that's besides the point. I don't want to hate on performative men because we all got our hobbies, bro. Do what you got to do, I guess. I don't care. But back to Memoirs of a Beatnik. This book chronicles the rise of the beatnik movement in New York. So it starts off with DiPrima going to New York when she is, I believe, 18, and she leaves college to get an apartment with two of her roommates. One of her roommates ends up not going, so she's there with one of her roommates and then her, and she's essentially just documenting her life throughout New York at this time. She's like living on the street and living very freely. She'll like get rides from random people and like go to a commune in upstate New York and just smoke weed and do all sorts of stuff and eat food and play music and write poems, and just it's a very free flowing life. And I actually really I found a lot of these moments that she talks about to be quite inspiring. Like it's very rare to, or I won't say rare, but it's very refreshing to hear about someone who just went and lived. Like she just didn't care. She was like so whimsical, and I don't mean whimsical in like the cartoony sort of ha 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 type of way. I mean whimsical in like she genuinely just lived off of a whim. Like she would just hop in the car with somebody and be like there's a scene in the book that I keep bringing this up. There's a scene in the book where she is just walking down the street of New York, and some guys, like a group of people in some car, pulls up to her and is like, "Hey, we're going to upstate New York. Do you want to come?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she just gets in the car with everything she has on. She doesn't have any, she didn't pack, she didn't do anything. She just gets in the car and she drives off with them. And I think that's very like, it's very youthful. Like there's something very youthful in this book, and I think it's very impactful. I think we need more literature, or I don't want to say we need more literature, but it's very interesting to hear literature from this period, from the beatnik period specifically, from a woman's lens, right? The beatniks were a group of people that wrote about sex a lot. I think you look at somebody like Charles Bukowski, who wrote a lot about sex. A lot of his poems cover that. And it's so interesting to hear that sort of action be talked about from a woman's lens. And just like the fears that come with it, the pain that comes with it, the pleasure, and just all of the different like ways that it's very like the insecurities, all the different things. It's brilliant. It's genuinely brilliant. I love this book. Like it's so impactful. There was a line in the book that I wanted to read. There's a moment towards the end of the book where she's talking about Allen Ginsberg and how his publishing of Howl, his poem, sort of set fire to this already like this like keg waiting to explode, this keg of just like bohemianism and youth and all this like just inspiration and art and power, and how that poem sort of lit the fire under an entire group of people to voice themselves, like use their voice and speak, and how that sort of began the beatnik movement as we know it to be. And she talked about it, and she says in reference to it, all the people who like me had hidden and skulked, writing down what they knew for a small handful of friends, and even those friends claiming it couldn't be published, waiting with only a slight bitterness for the thing to end, for man's era to draw to a close in a blaze of radiation. All these would now step forward and say their piece. Not many would hear them, but they would, finally, hear each other. I was about to meet my brothers and sisters. That is such an inspiring thing. Like, there's something so cool about that. Like, the idea, I think about that all the time, about, like, as somebody who writes poetry, as somebody who wants to be an author, who spends a lot of time studying literature and art, and just art in general, not even just literature, but just art in general, I'm so fascinated by artistic movements and how these groups of people just end up finding one another. You think about like the modernist movement. How is it that all of these people ended up in Paris at the same time? Like, how is it that Hemingway, Fitzgerald, Ford Madox Ford, Ezra Pound, all the Picasso, all these people, Gertrude Stein, just all of them ended up in Paris at the same time? That's insane. Like, how does that happen? And then they all go on to write and document these experiences in ways like in their different art forms. They go on to document them in ways that's so specific to their own perspective of it. The way Hemingway talks about his time in Paris compared to the way Fitzgerald talks about his time in Paris is completely different. And I think that's so profound. Like, it makes you feel less alone. I think, like, as an artist, as somebody who creates, it makes you feel less alone, especially considering that creativity and art can feel like such a isolating thing. Specifically writing, I mean, when you're writing, you're literally just tapping into your own consciousness and trying to make sense of something that you don't understand. And that's a very isolating process. Like, that's very scary. And I think it's comforting to know that like there are other people struggling with making sense of the world alongside you, and it's not just you. And to look back at that, you know, 10, 15 years from now and be like, we were all in this together. We were all young, we were all dumb, we didn't know what the hell was going on, but we were creating, we were making something out of nothing. And that's such a beautifully human thing. You just heard my Xbox 360 go off, I think. I'm gonna have to turn it back on because I'm trying to play Skate 3 after this video. Um, but yeah, I mean, I love that book. I genuinely do, because I feel like it reminds me a lot of A Movable Feast by Hemingway, and about how that book sort of documented his time in Paris as a modernist writer and as somebody who was like surrounded by all these different people. I think it also reminds me of some of the poems from You Get So Alone at Times It Just Makes Sense by Charles Bukowski, where he's talking about how there's a poem in there in that collection where he talks about, I believe he's going to see Ezra Pound on his deathbed. I think it's Ezra Pound. It might be. No, it's not. That was A Movable Feast. I think it was. What's his name? Oh my God, he wrote at was it John Fonte? I don't remember. Uh, he wrote Wait Until Spring Bandini. He went to go see him, and he talks about that and how that like impacted him, and how like this figure who like when he was younger and all the other writers around him when they were younger like looked up to this guy, and now seeing him in his deathbed is such a harrowing and like depressing and like just like but oddly beautiful, just like this very human experience. I don't know. I could talk about it for hours. I think there's so much beauty in art. There's so much beauty in creativity. There's so much family there. I think it's such a communal thing. And I think this book specifically, and the way DePrima talks about how she found community in all these different people, and how she lost community like as the period before the Beatniks sort of ended, as this like loose gang of people who like just came in and out of each other's lives. Um, as that sort of disbanded and these people found like structure, right? Here come the Beatniks, people like Allen Ginsberg, people like Jack Kerouac, who come along and are like, well, DePrima, come with us. We'll like take you into our group and we'll go do all these different things together. And that's such a beautiful thing. I think that's such a beautiful thing. But anyway, that is Memoirs of a Beatnik. I feel like I've rambled about this book long enough. Please go read this book. I will say, check the trigger warnings. Be aware that there is a lot of sexual content in this book. So if you're someone who doesn't care to read sexual content, or it makes you squeamish, makes you uncomfortable, whatever, be aware of that. It is quite erotic. But yeah, that is Memoirs of a Beatnik by Diane DePrima. Next, I'm going to talk about some of the books that I have in my rotation, some of the books that I'm reading currently, and then also some of the books that I want to read, and then we are going to wrap this video up, and I'm going to play Skate 3. So, right now, I have been reading Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I'm not gonna lie, man, I'm struggling to get into this book, and it sucks. It really sucks, because I love Leo Tolstoy. War and Peace is one of my favorite books, if not my favorite book of all time. Maybe that's a video idea. I could talk about some of my favorite books of all time. But War and Peace, oh my God, I love War and Peace. And I know I'm gonna love this book because it's pretty much, it's a novel. It's not like a epic or like a, I guess, work of like philosophy in the way that War and Peace is. It's not trying to argue anything. I mean, I think everything is inherently trying to argue something, but that's a conversation for another day. War and Peace is specifically trying to argue something about the way the world works. This book is more of a story, right? Like, this book is a novel. It is, talking about a family, obviously, of like a group of families, obviously, but it's very much, like, it's not as dense as War and Peace is, and I want to enjoy it as much as I enjoyed War and Peace, but I fear that I'm not loving it that much right now, and I think that's because I just haven't been able to catch the vibe of this book. It hasn't really been able to fit into my day-to-day. I'm struggling to find the desire to read it. I'm not really connecting with the characters that much. And I know I'm going to love this book, and I want to give it a fair shot because I love Tolstoy. So I think I'm going to put this book on ice for now, and pick up something else. There's another book by another Russian author that you probably already know the name of, that I'm going to talk about in a second. But yeah, Anna Karenina, I have to put this book on ice. I can't get into it right now. I'm sorry. I really like, the writing style. I think this translation, this is the Pivar and Volokonsky translation. It's just the Penguin Classic Edition. So it's like, this is the translation that everyone recommends getting. There is another one that I have. I don't remember where I put it, but there's another translation that I have that is all right. It's not my favorite That's why I got this one, because this translation was better in my opinion, and it is better. It reads a lot smoother to me. But yeah, Anna Karenina, I will read it at some point. I don't think that point is going to be this month, or anytime in the near future, unless I wake up one morning and decide to read Anna Karenina. My tea is doing its job. I'm feeling a lot better. So, the next book that I'm reading, I woke up one morning and I was playing Animal Crossing New Leaf on my 3DS, and I was watching YouTube while drinking coffee, as I normally do every morning, if I don't have to work at least. And I was watching a YouTube video by, I believe, whose YouTube video it was doesn't really matter. But I was watching a YouTube video, and the video was like, the ad before the video was a trailer for the new Emerald Fennell film, Wuthering Heights. And I decided, well, I guess I gotta read Wuthering Heights, because I've never read Wuthering Heights, and the trailer looked like a film, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Listen, I like Emerald Fennell as much as the next dude, but I'm not gonna lie. That movie don't look very good. I'm not gonna lie to you, Chad. It don't look great. Shout out Peanuts, by the way. I found a 1957 edition, or no, not 1957. It was 1950 something edition of Peanuts comics at Goodwill the other day, and I bought that shit immediately. I love Peanuts. Shout out Charlie Brown. He's my GOAT. I spent like so much time as a child like trying to draw my own Peanuts comics. I wish I had them. I think they're at my mom's house. I wish I had them, dude. I spent so much time doing that. I would be in class drawing that shit. Oh my god, it was peak. Anyway, Wuthering Heights. Listen, bro. Wuthering Heights so far, it's I have beef with Victorian literature. It sounds like I have beef with every movement in history that's not the modernist, but I promise you that's not the case. I promise you I love other literary movements that's not the modernist. It just so happens that I'm talking about the Beatniks and the Victorians, which are my two least favorite literary movements in literary history. I have beef with the Victorians, bro. Listen. I've gotten the accusation multiple times in my life that I'm a performative male. How could I be a performative male and I don't even like Jane Austen? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. I don't even like Jane Austen. How could I be performative? Make it make sense. So listen, I am not a fan of Victorian literature. It's boring. It's boring. I'm sorry. It's boring. It's boring. It's boring to me. It's not that it's poorly written. It's not that like the language is not easy to understand, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I genuinely find no enjoyment in reading anything from the Victorians. I read Frankenstein for one of my undergrad classes, I think my sophomore or junior year in college, and oh my god, reading that book was like pulling teeth. I read Jane Eyre in undergrad. Oh, that book is so boring, bro. I'm sorry. And it's so long. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't. I tried reading Emma. I tried reading Pride and Prejudice. I tried reading Mansfield Park. I tried reading all these different books and it just didn't hit, bro. It wasn't hitting. It wasn't doing its job. I could not get behind any of the Victorians. And then I read Wuthering Heights, and let me tell you, Emily Bronte might be them ones, bro. She might have them ones, bro. She might have them ones. I'm not gonna lie. Emily Bronte, what a woman. She was cooking in ways I can't express. This book so far is so good. There is like, I wasn't expecting it to be like low key like horror book. I guess it's like is I don't know what dark academia is exactly, but like would this book count? If you know if it counts, let me know. I'm not sure. I think it does. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Anyway, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. This book is low key scary sometimes. There is a sequence where I just read a sequence. I'm still at the beginning of the book. I'm only at like page 46. But there is a sequence that I just finished reading where it's like a dream, and the main character is like having a dream. He's like staying the night at Heathcliff's, and he's staying the night at Wuthering Heights, and he is having this dream where he is seeing this ghost girl named Catherine or something. I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything about. Excuse me. I don't know anything about this book. I don't know what this book is about. As I finish reading, as I get deeper into this book, I will let you know how I feel about it. And once I finish it, I will probably make a video talking about it. But dude, this book is really good so far. I will say the language was kind of difficult for me to get into, but after I was able to sort of get adjusted to it, I was able to catch the vibe perfectly. I think this is a great fall book, especially in like now, like at my job, we're putting out like Halloween decorations and stuff like that. The vibe is in the air. It's getting a little chilly outside. They put the pumpkin spice stuff back on the menu at all these coffee shops. I never get that. I always, especially at like Dunkin' Donuts. That's a conversation, but I'm not gonna get in that. Listen, they putting all the fall stuff back out into the streets, bro. It's hitting. It's fall time. Summer's over. It's fall. Go grab a copy of Wuthering Heights and sit down, bro. Go get you a flat white and sit down in the coffee shop and get you a copy of Wuthering Heights and lock in. That's what you need to do. That's really what you need to do, because oh my God, Emily Bronte is cooking in ways I wasn't even aware was possible. Let me tell you. I thought the Victorians were washed. I thought they were a bunch of old white people doing old white people shit. They are, in fact, cooking. At least Emily Bronte is. I can't speak about the rest of them, but at least Emily Bronte is. If you have more recommendations for Victorian literature, let me know, because I'm open to having my mind changed. I am. I'm open to having my mind changed. The next book that I'm reading right now is After Dark by Haruki Murakami. I'm not going to go into my beef with Haruki Murakami right now because this video is already long enough. It's 30 minutes. It's probably going to be longer than that. I'm sorry. But listen, I'm not going to go into my beef with Haruki Murakami. It's not going to happen. Just know I'm not a huge fan of Haruki Murakami, but I was at the library and I found After Dark. And I've been wanting to read this book. This is one of my friend's favorite books, and I love my friend. Shout out Joseph, bro. That's my guy. He loves this book, and he kept telling me to read this. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll read it. So, I went to the library, I found it, and now I'm reading it. And I will say, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I think this is probably outside of what I talk about when I talk about running so far. This might be one of my favorite Murakami books that I've read. The Bar is in Hell, so don't take that for much. But I will say After Dark is pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't have much to say about it right now. I think the first chapter, like the scene in Denny's, is really cool. I like conversations between people. I like books that are just about people talking. I talked about that in my last video. I really love books that are just about people talking, and that scene is literally what I want out of books. Like, that scene is exactly what I want out of books. Okay, so that's done. Those are the books that I'm currently reading. Those are the books. That's the book that I read, Diane DePrima's Memoirs of a Beatnik. Highly recommend. Go read it. And then Anna Karenina, Wuthering Heights, and After Dark are the three books that I am currently reading. So, um, yeah, I had another stack of books here that I want to talk about, but I kind of don't want to talk anymore, and this video is already long enough. And if I were you, I wouldn't want to watch a 40-minute video. So, I'm gonna end it. And if I want to record another video, I will record another video. If not, I will see you in a month or two when I decide to record another video.